the state of Florida is now in session. The Honorable Russell L. P. Please turn off all cell phones and electronic devices at this time. The use of cell phone cameras, photographic, recording, or electronic devices of any kind is absolutely prohibited, and they may be turned off while court is in session. Credential representatives of the media who have gained approval from the court may use laptops, iPads, and tablets, provided, however, they are not to be used for photographic purposes. No talking while in the courtroom. Violation of any of these rules may result in you being removed from the courtroom. You may be seated.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Dunn. All right, we're here this morning for sentencing in the case of the state of Florida versus Michael Dunn. And the first order of business is to take up the motion for a new trial filed by Ms. Hannon.
Yes, Your Honor. About that motion for new trial, laying out several grounds. I would rely on both of our pre-trial arguments and our arguments during the course of the trial for each of those grounds, as mentioned in our motion.
Anything in the statements you got?
Yes, so just briefly, Your Honor, regarding paragraph 8, I think it's probably already reflected in the record, but I want to make sure the record reflected that Mr. Knox actually brought over a whiteboard in front of the jury and drew some diagrams, which should eliminate the issue of whether or not any diagrams he prepared prior to trial were admitted, because he's allowed to draw those exact same diagrams before the jury. That was the only thing I wanted to add. Just, because it was a demonstration of sorts, I want to make sure the record was clear that that was done during the trial.
Well, and again, for purposes, Your Honor, we would clearly disagree that the demonstrative diagrams that Mr. Knox was allowed to hand draw during the course of the trial would have been as effective as the presentation that he created. But other than that, we would rely on prior argument.
Well, what's referenced there is the animated drawings, what I call drawings, and video, if you will, which is almost like looking at the drawings in fast succession, maybe in the video. And I have reasons that I stated on the record as to why I did not think that was appropriate for the jury's consideration. I've reviewed the motion, the grounds that were raised there, and I will rely on the rulings that I made previously during the course of the trial. The motion for a new trial is denied. So we're now ready to proceed to sentencing. First, we have pre-sentence for actually two. Mr. Stroller is here as attorney for Mrs. Dunn during the first trial back in February. And we had a pre-sentence investigation report prepared back then. And then after Mr. Dunn's being found guilty by a jury just recently, we had that pre-sentence investigation report updated. So, Mr. Stroller, if you have a chance to review both the original and the amended pre-sentence investigation report.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. Kennedy, have you also had a chance to review that?
I have, Your Honor, and I have reviewed the amended pre-sentence investigation report with Mr. Dunn as well.
Okay. Mr. Stroller, any exceptions or objections? I guess we really rely on the amended because it's updated. Any exceptions or objections from your point of view?
No, no.
Ms. Henry, any exceptions or objections on behalf of Mr. Dunn or from your point of view?
Your Honor, there's just three minor things. It's not really a correction as such, but just maybe some things for the record. On page 1, I would just like to note that in terms of Mr. Dunn's credit, it would be 692 days as of today, as opposed to the date that's listed in the pre-sentence investigation report. As I said, it wasn't an error. I'd like to reflect that updated number as of today's date. The other thing, Your Honor, as of page 5 of the pre-sentence investigation report, the only prior...
You're actually referring to the amended.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Page 5 of the amended pre-sentence investigation. I apologize, Your Honor. The only prior that Mr. Dunn had as a DUI and driving charge from 1988. And while this reflects that a DOT warrant was issued on that, we wanted to note for the record that that was literally a clerical error by the clerk of the court there, that the paperwork indicating his compliance with probation had not been put into the system. So it was not a situation in which he had violated any of the conditions of his probation, and we just wanted to note that for the record. The only other thing, Your Honor, is on page 11, I just wanted to note that I had indicated to the probation office that I would reserve comment for today prior to the creation of this document. That would be all.
All right. From the state, any exceptions or objections to either the original or the amended pre-sentence investigation?
Judge, on the amended, just a couple of things. I want to clear up on page 1, the designation of the division. I thought we had agreed on division D.
No, actually, oddly enough, in a twist of fate, this case actually began in Division I with Judge Bass. It then, after recusal, went to Division D, and then after that judge got out of the case, it technically stayed in Division D because I was the county court judge at the time, just sitting as a circuit judge on the first trial. But as fate would have it, after being appointed to the circuit court bench, I am now in Division I, which is where the case originated, oddly enough. So I had it transferred back to Division I, which is where it all started.
Very good.
So Division I is the proper division designation.
Thank you for the clarification. Judge, on page 2, just again, a presidential issue. The last paragraph reads that the trial commenced on the 29th. I believe it was the 22nd of September.
Correct. All right, so I'll have to,
That's all.
probation make that correction. All right. Before we begin, I want to remind the meeting, well, not remind, but I think they already know it. We actually have some jurors here today that were jurors in the most recent trial, and my order regarding confidentiality still remains in full force and effect. So please do not attempt to photograph them, approach them, or videotape them in any way. That brings us then to Mr. Strolla and or Ms. Hanania. Well, first, Mr. Strolla, you prepared and filed, I believe, a sentencing memorandum, which I have considered, and attached were a variety of letters that I have read and considered, which is all part of the court file. So, for the record, I just want to use that. And then we proceed to any other presentation that happened. Mr. Dunn, either through Mr. Strolla or Ms. Hanley.
Your Honor, at this time, Mr. Dunn's parents are present, and a number of family and friends scattered around the states as well as throughout the state of Florida, who care, love, and support him and would have been present today. However, this has been a difficult situation for them, as it's been for everyone. And because they understand the sentencing structure currently in place in Florida and the requirements upon Your Honor based on that sentencing structure, they have elected not to put themselves through an emotional display of making a statement to the court because of the futility of those statements and the emotional difficulty it would impose upon them. So at this time, the only other thing that we would present would be a brief statement from Mr. Dunn.
All right. Mr. Dunn, if you'll stand to the podium for me, please. If you raise your right hand as best you can, you solemnly swear the testimony about to give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Go right ahead.
I want the Davis family to know that I truly regret what happened. I'm sorry for their loss. And if I could roll back time and do things differently, I would. I was in fear for my life, and I did what I felt I had to do. Still, I am mortified that I took a life, whether it was justified or not.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Any questions of Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Anything else on behalf of Mr. Dunn?
There you are.
Mr. Guy, Ms. Corr?
Yes, Your Honor. The state has several aspects of it and impact to present to the court. Today, I'd like to start by letting the court know that Tommy Storm is here, but he doesn't wish to speak, but I did want the court to acknowledge his presence and have that noted for the record. So, Tommy.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Storm.
Your Honor, secondly, I'd like to submit for, just for your review only, not to be put into the record, a series of 10 photographs of Jordan Davis. And I can describe each one and show them to the defense counsel as I do. The first one of Jordan as an infant looking up at his father. Secondly, another photo of Mr. Davis holding Jordan. The third one is a picture of Mr. Davis with Jordan in the sand. The fourth one is a picture of Jordan in the swimming pool as a young boy. The next one is a picture of Miss Macbeth, his mother, with him standing, looks like next to a vehicle. Another is a portrait taken of Lucia Macbeth with her son Jordan. The next one is Jordan wearing a Miami Dolphins hat. So, and it's a picture of him alone. Next is a picture of Jordan in somewhat of a contemplative pose. Looks like it's outside of the museum. And the last one is a picture of Mr. Ron Davis standing in front of Samuel W. Wilson High School with a big sign that says, "Our condolences to the family of Jordan Davis. He will be missed." And so after defense counsel, I'd like to just submit to the court for review.
So the answer, Mr. Corr, is those were you able to
Make a copy.
go?
Yes, sir. I'll have copies made of these, and right now, there's one small one, Judge, and it's another beautiful picture of Miss Macbeth with her arm around Jordan, his little boy. So we will submit these to you, ask for them back, make a color copy, and have those. Your Honor, this time, the state just wanted to note on the record that a couple of letters were submitted that do not need to be read into the record. The court wants to indicate that you have read the letters from Dr. Castell and from Lori St. Pierre.
Yes, I have received those letters and reviewed them, and I gather that you've made them part of the record. Is that correct, Ms. Corr?
Yes.
All right.
Your Honor, at this time, then, the state will begin by calling Lucy Macbeth.
Ms. Macbeth?
Where would you like to?
I think she's going to go in there.
Then I'll ask my questions and step aside.
Yeah, that way she'll be at a microphone and everybody can hear.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Macbeth, can you please raise your right hand? You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Just be sure and speak loudly into the microphone so everybody can hear you, all right? Thank you.
Would you please state your name for the record? All right, and I think you might need to speak.
Can I ask you, Ms. Corey, to get one of those lapel mics?
Yes, sir, I'll be happy to, because I do, if you'll allow me, I just can stay over here.
Sure.
Let's test the microphone again before we start. State your name for the record. Lucia Macbeth. How are you related to Jordan Davis?
I am his mother.
What year was Jordan Davis born?
He was born February 15, 1995.
And Ms. Macbeth, have you prepared a statement to tell Judge Healy and this community what was unique about Jordan to you and what the impact of his murder has been on you?
Yes, I have.
Would you please read that statement now?
Take it now.
I remember the first day we brought Jordan home from the hospital. Our miracle child. For 9 months, I thought to give this special child life. I remember asking God to keep him safe and out of harm's way. I prayed many prayers that he would be highly favored before God and man. I asked God to give him wisdom and understanding to be able to navigate through a world filled with uncertainty and hidden danger. But most of all, I prayed that Jordan would bring joy to those that he had relationships with. He was named after the River Jordan in the Bible, and as his life would symbolize for our family a new beginning. As a child, Jordan was inquisitive, full of life, fun-loving, and a defender for those that could not defend themselves. He often questioned what his role was here on earth. He pondered who he would be. We used to have deep discussions about loving others and living our lives in a way that would honor God. It's bittersweet to recall all of the Monday nights we spent at the skating rink with his homeschool group, or the Thursday night taekwondo class that we took together. I chuckle when I remember the fun that we used to have chasing the dogs in the yard. I miss all of the boys over to our house. The sleepovers. Fill out something new that he would try to teach me the lane dance. I miss his big, wide, toothy smile. I miss telling him he has a perfect smile just like Grandma Davis. I miss hearing the slamming doors as he and his friends tumble in and out of the house going to the mall. I miss tripping over his Vans tennis shoes so easily kicked off his feet as he comes through the front door. I miss the moments that we would stand back to back in the bathroom mirror, comparing how much he had grown to my steadily shrinking frame. For years to come, I will be forced to celebrate my son's birthday without his presence. Forever, I will be forced to keep him alive in my heart and mind only through the still photos and pictures that hang on the gallery walls of our home. And as I peek into his bedroom at night, I will only be able to imagine the sleeping frame, peaceful and at rest. As I quietly watch my friend's boys evolve into young men, I will forever be reminded of what might have been for my children. For me, there will be no college graduation. For me, there will be no daughter-in-law. For me, there will be no range. For me, there will be no future generation to carry on the heritage of mine. For me, there's only the hope I cling to, that I will walk hand in hand with Jordan again when I go home together to rest. His smiling face will be the first to greet me, and I know that he will be with me from all of eternity. You see, I raised my son to love, accept, and forgive others. This was the very foundation that was embedded in his soul. Therefore, I too must be willing to forgive. I chewed to release the seeds of anger and bitterness that could not honor myself. I choose to walk in the freedom of knowing that the Lord's justice has been served. I will earnestly pray that the Lord will convict your heart and that you will no longer live the seeds of anger and hate. I pray that God has mercy on your soul.
Thank you. During this time, call Curtis back. State your name for the record. How are you related to Jordan Davis?
I'm Jordan's stepdad.
How long have you been Jordan's stepdad?
6 years.
And can you please describe the impact that the murder of Jordan Davis has had on you and your mom?
Mr. Dunn, for almost 2 years, emptiness has filled our home. A bed never slept in, clothes never worn, and laughter all but gone. Also forever gone is the legacy of youth. Graduations, birthdays, and most of all, grandchildren are lost forever. I will miss Jordan and all that he is going to be. I will miss the chance to watch Jordan grow into a man. Simply put, I will miss Jordan. I will miss this great young man, Jordan Russell Davis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McFadden. Your Honor, the state of this county call upon your Brunson.
Ms. Brunson? Good morning, ma'am. You're raised right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
State your name for the record.
My name is Marnie from Brunson.
And are you related to Leland Brunson?
Yes, I'm very small.
And tell the court about your involvement in this case as far as the impact that what happened to Leland on that time has had on Leland and on you. And let me just clarify for the record, did Leland come today?
You know, it's not.
But isn't it your area reported?
Yes.
Required. Okay. Then can you go ahead and speak on Leland's behalf?
And the parent feel that my child will not be anything but going to the mall with the friends the day after Thanksgiving. In the area that this all occurred, took me back to my younger years in New York City, where shooting happens often. Teaching my child the value of life, respect to others and being respected. Naturally, being a protective mother has me fear. Is there any place safe for my child? Following the nation events, my fears grow more each day. I want to thank all the jury, the detectives, the DA office, Dunn, Aaron, Bradley, and her team, and a special thanks to Andrew Corey for reaching out and finding justice to serve. Thank you all of my God continue to bless you. Judge, I feel that the maximum sentence should be given to this offender. And this is from one to the Brown family.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Sir, at this time, we will call Henry Brown. I'm sorry, Henry Brown.
Mr. Brown?
Also on behalf of the
solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
State your name for the record, sir. And are you here on behalf of Leland Brothers? Can you please tell Judge Healy the impact of what this incident has had on both Leland and on your family?
Well, I'm reading on behalf of Leland. I am a young black man who was born and raised in Harlem, USA, where tragedy happened. I attended private school until the 7th grade. At the age of 14, my family moved to Jacksonville, Florida, for a different life. During my first year here in Jacksonville, I met Georgia Davis, for which we formed a brotherly bond that was shattered November 23rd, 2012. In that tragic moment, my life has been a challenge. Family, school, relationships, even with myself. Dealing with the loss of my best friend has left me mentally and physically depressed at times. I was taught that each individual was given the benefit of the doubt. Those lessons have questioned, after the question due to the tragic event, where no wrong was done on our part. I feel the maximum sentence should be issued. As the victim of this tragic action, it's been difficult going forward. But as a survivor, I vow to go forward for myself, my family, and my best friend, Jordan Russell.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Your Honor, at this time, on behalf of Kevin Thompson, we would first start with Carlene Thompson. Oh, we have a statement to read. Then what we're going to do is we're going to ask Ms. Wilson if that's okay to read the statement of Carlene Thompson. And Judge, again, for the record, Kevin just couldn't be here today.
Ms. Wilson?
And Your Honor, this is a statement read by Kevin Thompson. And it's titled New Beginnings. Honorable Judge, this whole experience has really changed my life. It taught me to see value in life, to cherish our family and friends, because you never know when they could go. Knowing those bullets could have gone through my door frightens me every day. I thank God every day that He gave me a blessing and protected me that night from those bullets. It's been almost 2 years since the incident happened, and I'm just glad it's finally over and we got justice for my son Jordan. Yours truly, Kevin Thompson.
And then we have another letter to read, Judge Bill Thompson, will you read that as well?
And Your Honor, this letter is from the parents of Kevin Thompson. Your Honor, there are no words that we can tell you to explain the pain that we feel every day since the incident happened on November 23rd, 2012. It was very emotional to watch our son on the stand testifying for the murder of his friend. When any of our children leave the house, we tend to worry until they return home safely, because you never know what can happen to them while they're out there, just because of this experience. As parents, you never want to see your child go through such a traumatic situation at such a young age, but it teaches him to be aware of his surroundings, and it teaches us as well. Even though our son is still here, we can see his pain every day and his different emotions. It has changed him in many ways. Sincerely, the parents of Kevin Thompson.
And Judge, I believe copies of the letters have already been placed in the record, and I want to show that they do. I have two more witnesses, Your Honor. At this time, I can call Carolina Davis.
Ms. Davis? Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Redmond. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
State your name for the record.
Carolina Davis,
Can you spell the first name first?
C-A-R-O-L-I-N-A.
And Ms. Davis, how are you related to Jordan? The step. And how long have you been married to Mr. Davis?
12 years.
I'm sorry.
12 years, 12 years.
And did you prepare a statement today to tell Judge Healy how the murder of Jordan Davis has impacted you as his stepmother?
Yes.
Would you like to read that statement?
Take your time, man.
On November 23rd, 2012, my life and my family life has changed. After I returned to Jacksonville from Atlanta, Georgia, I had just put my mother on a plane back to Mexico. As she spent the Thanksgiving holiday with us, and I didn't want her to connect in Atlanta alone. She kissed Jordan on the head. And prayed for him in the morning prior to his death. I never thought to receive the worst news in my life after such a joyful occasion. I had never seen my husband cry the way he did. I was asleep at home, and I was awakened by a loud cry at the end of the bed. And then I saw Ron. When I asked him, what happened? He said, my baby is gone. Over and over again. I couldn't understand, but I felt blood drop. Ron, I felt my blood drop, and I jumped up and looked in Jordan's room. Ron then said, my baby is dead. I was in shock, and I couldn't believe what he was saying. I screamed, where is Jordan? Where is Jordan? And we both just kept crying, just feeling. I don't have the words of him. But he was a kid. Since he was a small child, I never my mind was lost. To me, and I was dreaming that I was dreaming. He prayed on Thanksgiving, and he was so happy that he decided to call all his friends and people he loved. He woke up early on Friday morning to say goodbye to my mom. I told Ron that I don't know how I'm going to tell my mom that Jordan is dead. I called, and my whole family screamed and cried and cried. But it's so difficult. After 2 years, this to hear Ron cry, waking me up, and it's scary. Jordan was a typical teenager, looking at himself in the mirror to see if he was handsome, trying out his new dance moves, and walking around with his headphones, listening to music. He had a beautiful heart for all to see. I always gave him advice, and he listened to me. He loved me and respected me, and I loved him too. 3 days after he died, he was starting for his driving permit, and he left his book. With his notes on the sofa. And it's so sad for me to think that he never had the opportunity to do it. It's also so sad that Lucy, Curtis, Ron, and Nanny were in the funeral home choosing his casket. Instead of both of us choosing his first car. Just leave. Now, I hope that our family can help the youth and the community through the Jordan Davis Foundation. And hope that and hope that the fans get the sentence that he deserved for taking our son from our life. He was just 17 years old.
Judge, at this time, we will call Ronald Davis.
Davis?
State your name for the record, sir,
Ronald Davis,
and how are you related to Jordan?
I'm his dad.
Mr. Davis, have you prepared a statement for Judge Healy as to how the murder of Jordan Davis, your son, has affected you and your family?
Yes, I am.
Would you please read that?
To the Honorable Judge Russell Healy. My life, as I known it, was shattered on November 23rd, 2012. Black Friday, as it was commonly called, for the day after Thanksgiving. I now call it Black Friday for a completely different reason for me and my family. I will never forget that phone call from Tanya Brunson to me at work. That my son Jordan, my baby boy, had been shot. She could not have possibly said shot, so I asked her again and again. She had no idea of the details or whether or not he was still alive because she received the information secondhand from her crying, inconsolable Leland, her son, and Jordan's best friend, who held him in his arms. I left work in tears that I wish no parent has to cry these type of tears. As I headed for the hospital, a small section of my mind allowed in a most terrible thought. I wondered, will death rest its weary bones on my doorstep tonight? After the longest hour of my life, the hospital confirmed, yes, that Jordan Russell Davis was received in the emergency room. He was dead on arrival. I haven't enough space on this paper or time left in my life, Judge Healy, to tell you about all the feelings surging through my mind and my body. All I can say is that the old Ron Davis, for all intents and purposes, died that very night with Jordan. I was a happy man, looking forward to family holidays and the next steps toward guiding my son to manhood. I held my son in my arms at the hospital and kissed him for his last goodbye. You see, I gave him his first kiss when he came into this room, and I could never imagine giving him his last kiss. I whispered in his ear that the Lord will now take care of him, and that Grandma will be waiting to guide her. My mother, Eunice Davis, she withstood a 6-hour operation for stomach cancer that involved 3 organs at the ripe old age of 8 and 77 years old, just to see Jordan come in this world. She told me before she went into the operating room that God would see her through so that she could hold her grandson in the coming months. My son was named after the mighty river Jordan in the Bible, and his love will continue to flow through all that knew him. He was strong-minded and would not be bullied by anyone. He was taught to believe in the Lord and gave a Thanksgiving afternoon prayer the day before his death. Our family has lost the biggest and the brightest smile of all of us. He made our family gathering so much more fun, and now that laughter just isn't there anymore. Jordan was an avid swimmer who would join me when I went to Jacksonville Beach near the pier.
We would have father and son time laughing as the waves knocked us down countless times. My father, Percy Davis, Jordan's grandpa, he came out there with us to the same spot near the pier at the age of 88 to see these same waves come in and go out for the very last time. He died of bone cancer a few weeks later. So there will always be a special place as generations come and go for Jordan and I, jumping the waves and laughing. Not only is Jordan's mother, Lucia McFadden, devastated at the loss of her only son, but my wife, Carolina Davis, has continued to cry for Jordan for these horrible 2 years. She is his stepmom and has been in his life and loved him since he was a small child. He will be missed by his only brother, Ron Davis Jr., and family. My 2 grandsons, they don't understand what happened to their Uncle Jordan. My wife's mother, Mamacita, who loves to cook Mexican food for Jordan and spoil him as her first grandson, continues to cry so loud that we have to keep her out of the courtroom during the trial. Jordan leaves many relatives and friends and schoolmates who love him and miss him. His very special one and only girlfriend was Aaliyah Harris, who he saw during the last few hours of his life. They all cry remembering the good times with Jordan. I could not go back to work since the killing of my son. I tried and it lasted for about an hour, and I went home in tears because it was there that I received the fatal call. In addition to the emotional impact, there was a great financial impact. As I sat through this trial, Judge Healy, I kept looking at the seal behind your head, and it kept saying, "In God we trust." And over again, I kept seeing that, and it helped me through this whole court proceeding for the last 2 years. I kept saying, "In God we trust." And I think it's a historical moment in our society where we here in the South that we can have a jury that rely on the witness and the testimony and look at their heart and look at Jordan as a person. That's my son. Judge Healy, Jordan Davis will always be 17. As Star Guy said, forever 17. And I want you to know, we all love him very, very much.
That's all for this time. Thank you.
Argument from the defense is all set.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Kennedy.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, as I know that you are very well aware, as to count one of the, count one on which Mr. Dunn was convicted by this jury, the law requires, Your Honor, to impose a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Given that situation, that's certainly, as I indicated earlier, a large part of why his family and friends who have known him these many years and who know the kind of person that he is, have elected not to present statements to the court. However, I think that certainly from the witnesses who testified at the trial, through the information that you received through the pre-sentence investigation report, that you have certainly quite a lot of information as to Mr. Dunn's background and character prior to the events of this particular night that brought us all here today. I think that you learned through those witnesses and through that pre-sentence investigation report that Mr. Dunn was a hard-working man who worked 3 different jobs, was working 3 different jobs at the time that these events occurred, as a software developer, as a contractor with Xerox, and working full-time for Hewlett Packard. That he was a law-abiding citizen who was a good son to his parents who are here in the courtroom, and a reliable and valued employee to all of his employers, and a good father. And the only comment, Your Honor, that I can make is that it is unfortunate, in the defense's opinion, the sentencing structure that we currently have in place in Florida does not even allow Your Honor to consider, not even to consider, any of these parts that Mr. Dunn's life that were part of his life, part of his character, and who he was before that night. And to not even be able to get anywhere to the entirety of a life lived, but only to sentence this man for the 5 minutes of these events, this particular moment. And so, Your Honor, based on that, there is nothing else we can say. We cannot give a recommendation to the court because of the mandatory sentence that the law requires you to give. So, thank you.
Mr. Stroll?
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. Judge, I can start first and foremost. Obviously, this has been a long, tedious process. Obviously, you've heard it from the families. It was on both sides. Mr. Dunn's family, not to his right, to George Davis' family, has suffered greatly through this. I think it can be discussed that technically, because of that mandatory minimum life sentence, they are also losing their son, and they appreciate the gravity of that, as well as Mr. Dunn. I know there was a lot of discussion said, there was a lot of legal issues in the past, but I can assure this court and also the court, every time I've spoken with Mr. Dunn privately, he always showed remorse and discussed the issue of a 17-year-old child losing his life. He never took that lightly. He never was happy about it. There was never an issue where Mr. Dunn was glad he was in that position or felt relieved that it happened. And it was actually quite the opposite, contrary to what we've all heard in the media. And as Your Honor knows, what happens in this court is like a vacuum, and we know what happened in this case outside of what's been presented. Mr. Dunn does understand the accounts from the first trial where he was convicted of lesser inclusions. I have attached those letters. I won't go through them because we have already considered them. The only thing I would point out is there was prior testimony both in my trial in February of character witnesses as well as a new trial. There were several people that have talked about his history, his demeanor, the way he is in the community. We understand also that our names are tied with those counts because, as a lot of people don't understand, life in prison not goal is exactly that, life in prison. It's a death sentence to be served in prison. And my counts, before Your Honor, I respectfully request, and Your Honor's aware, have to be consecutive to that life sentence. So what I am asking